Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people who hate reading. This week we're doing the movie The Warrior, made in 2011, and we bring you movie news at the end of the program. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens,
Hello.
and the man who loves that little box, Ryan Preston. Like I said in the opening, this week we're doing The Warrior, and this week was Ryan's pick. So Ryan, what's your movie about this week?
Okay, Warrior basically revolves around two brothers who kind of ended up splitting off, at a very early age, and they both kind of come back into town in Pittsburgh and they, in different circumstances, end up both starting or entering an MMA tournament for a purse of $5 million, and about the trials and tribulations and on the way there, I guess.
Shenanigans, you mean?
So
shenanigans ensue.
So who wants to go first? Because I'm dying to go first.
Oh, I'd love to hear what you thought about this.
Okay.
Because first, this should have. What you said? This is Philadelphia.
Pittsburgh, I think it was.
Pittsburgh, something like that.
Okay, because I was kind of hoping wherever Rocky took place, because this is, to me, it was really similar to Rocky. 1 second, I got to move some equipment out of the way so I can read my notes. The two brothers fighting against each other has a very similar Rocky versus Apollo Creed feel. One working out like a top-of-the-line MMA gym, the one working out and kind of like his
the seedy place.
Yeah, almost his backyard broke type of feel to it. And I actually like the fighting scenes. They were well done and not over the top like some of the movies of the fighting movie genre. Mm-hmm. Like The Quest, Bloodsport, some of these movies that are entertaining, but
Did
the
you
fighting
really
scenes.
bring up The Quest?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, come on. He's the king of the bad movies.
And Kickboxer 2.
Oh,
Kickboxer 6. With Corey.
Oh, jeez. Wow. Okay. And their dad seems a lot like Mickey Goldmill from Rocky, but more of a douchebag who has, who has a lot of baggage. He seems like he's really trying hard to make up for his past failures.
Right.
His sons aren't making it easy on him. And I thought Kurt Angle's Coda was a very, very interesting version of Dolph Lundgren's Ivan Drago from Rocky IV.
Right.
You're welcome, audience, for me comparing that one. No, I give that one to you.
Yeah, I think we both came up with it, but I'll give you credit.
Whatever.
And bastard. And the other one I thought was interesting is I thought this left it open for at least one more film. And this is kind of the last one is kind of my idea what they could do with it, because it kind of seems like it would flow with it. It would be the brother who won would be fighting Coda, Kurt Angle, and the other brother would somehow get out of the stockade and would be in his brother's corner, and the dad would die. Something involved. That was kind of the gist.
Right, yeah,
I feel
that's 3 acts of a sequel right there.
Yeah, and it also covers half the Rocky movies.
Yeah, again, yeah.
And have either of you seen The Fighter? Because I haven't had a chance to.
Oh yeah.
Because my question was, how similar is this to The Fighter? Because when this came out, that's what I remember all the reviews saying is this is just another Fighter ripoff.
Oh no, no, not at all. Really, I mean the stories are completely dissimilar. In The Fighter, the brothers never fought each other. It was more, the true story of Mickey Ward, which really laid pretty close to the movie itself, because I think Mickey Ward actually ended up helping him with the screenwriting of it. But anyway, no, this really had nothing to do with it. Really, when I first heard about it, it just seemed like, oh, they're going to bank off of everybody's love for MMA right now because it's huge, the way that poker blew up back in the day.
True.
It seemed like they were just kind of capitalizing on a franchise.
No, that was Haywire.
But come on, Gina's hot.
She is hot.
Hey, okay.
She is hot, but that's what that movie was. That was them trying to capitalize on everybody liking MMA.
At least it wasn't Cyborg, but that would be more realistic.
Dear gosh. Anyway, go on. Your point. Your point being.
Oh, well, I don't know. I guess if I'm going to continue, I usually hate Nick Nolte. One of the few things that I actually really kind of empathize with his character on.
I thought that was the best part. I thought his character I thought he was a really well played character wise.
Hell yeah.
The only one with any
halfway
depth.
Through the damn movie, I realized I was watching Tom Hardy who I'm recently in love with because he played Bane.
Yeah, I'll give you
and
that.
he was also can't remember his character's name. Ames, I think it was in Inception. What an effing versatile actor that guy kind of turned out to be the last like 3 years. I mean, he's been in sort of a bunch of big budget, like high profile movies, and really never played the same role as far as I can tell.
But he looks like the male version of Christina Ricci, as far as being able to look like a cartoon.
No, that's what it took me a while to recognize him. He just looked like your average kind of punchy sort of looking fighter. I mean, he kind of sunk himself into that. He just really nailed that part. I wasn't familiar with his brother. I think he's done more TV than actual film. But their relationship was great. The relationship between the three of them, the brothers, were great. What I was a fan of is I didn't see MMA or UFC try to capitalize on this movie being huge or anything. Like, the only thing, it was really like tap out a couple of places in the corner, but it wasn't overused. It wasn't like product placement like I was really expecting it to be.
I have to say that was the one thing I was happy about. It's not like that racing movie with Sylvester Stallone where there was product placement everywhere. There were certain points where it fit, but it wasn't in your face.
Yeah, everything that they used as far as
it was proper to the
MMA
movie.
Things it fit with what they were trying to do, with the story they were trying to tell.
You didn't see a guy watching television on a sharp television holding a Pepsi or with a bag of Pringles type of thing. Which
I don't know. They did kind of mention a little bit about.
You didn't see like every UFC star in the world making a cameo. It wasn't a love letter for UFC. It was basically the setting for the story that they were trying to tell.
But
you did see some tap out equipment though. They did mention that.
Again, that was
fitting.
Because people have sponsors, but they didn't overdo it. It wasn't 46 sponsors. They narrowed it down.
Yeah. But instead of having an actual real world MMA fighter, they got Kurt Angle, who is an Olympic champion, but he's a former WWF
probably a better
heavyweight
actor,
champion.
giving the wrestling theatrical background than any MMA fighter would have ever been.
I'm not complaining. I think you're right. It played to his strengths because he is an actual.
Yeah, well, I mean, he didn't say a fucking word in the whole damn movie, so it's not like he had to really act. He just had to act.
He said a word or two.
Yeah. Well,
whatever.
Well, no.
Thank you.
I guess what I'm saying is, I agree, because he's a wrestler and because he's an actual Olympic wrestling champion. He played the character physically.
Yeah.
Right.
In wrestling, I don't know if anybody's a fan, but that's more acting in there. Is the facial expressions, the body movement. That's more acting.
Yeah, and as far as the fighting, I didn't think that they tried to portray everybody like they were Superman, like everybody's landing 200 punches like you see in every single Rocky movie.
Yeah.
No Rocky movie you see him actually put his hands up. His hands are always down here, and he's just taking the punches. And in this one, it was, they kept it grounded in reality, and the story between the brother and the dad was grounded in reality. I was really, really surprised on how much I gave a shit about all these characters, and with the two brothers fighting and the two sort of opposing personalities and sides of the one's fighting for his dead Marine buddy's wife, the other one's fighting for his family and his house. You really didn't know who was going to win, which doesn't happen a lot in these kinds of fight movies.
No,
you really Rocky's going to win, duh.
Well, I thought one of the best parts was that. I mean, I was trying to predict it, and it wasn't like, I think most fighting genres movies, you kind of know who the main character is. You can kind of predict it. The thing I liked is the main character is not who they start showing, which I liked.
I disagree with you guys there.
What do you mean?
I thought this story was actually pretty predictable. I kind of thought this was one of those. What it felt like to me was. Do you guys remember those books that came out in the early 90s that were like the story books?
You say Goosebumps, I swear to God.
No.
I mean the tell your own story books?
Yeah, the tell your own story books where you could read something and then you make a choice.
And then you flip to a different part of the book. That is the Goosebumps book.
No. Was it the Goosebumps? I don't think it was.
The ones...
Goosebumps did an entire run of shit like that. Maybe I'm just younger.
Well, I didn't read the Goosebumps.
Well, I remember that from my childhood. That was not the Goosebumps because I've never read them.
The Goosebumps weren't really from our childhood.
No,
we
not
were more
really.
into Fear Street and things like that before R.L. Stein turned pussy. So now. The story, I remember, like, John was kind of like during the movie, and he's like, well, I don't really know what's going to happen. I'm like, well, you have a couple different options here at this point of the movie. And I told him all the options that, okay, well, he just faced his main guy, the main fighting guy. Now, this guy's going up against this Russian guy who's possibly going to be his main fighting guy.
Right.
And then they're going to fight each other.
And
then it's going to be a toss-up that he can either decide whether I'm going to feel sympathy for my brother or I'm actually going to take this for myself.
Well, I guess
and that's really all it was. I mean, you only had a couple of choices, so that's what I meant.
There was only a couple of options, but in my head, I was sitting there trying to decide which one I'd rather see more. You know, do I want to see the physics teacher or the Marine?
I wanted to see the teacher be greedy, and I was glad that I got.
What I was glad not to see was, I was really expecting to see this big tearful, two brothers and the dad get together. Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgive everybody and love everything.
That'll be in the sequel.
That didn't happen because that doesn't happen in real life. There is no, overall encompassing like, oh, everything's okay moment. So it left tension on the table, but you saw, breaking down the walls of this long forgotten relationship kind of thing. It was a really heartful story outside of the who I gave a shit who won the fight, Well,
I guess in the defense of James's comments about what I was saying is because I saw there were 3 or 4 choices, but generally in a movie there's 3 or 4 choices as you go on.
And they go for the stupidest one.
Yeah, but generally it's really predictable.
Right.
And this is the one where I saw the choices, but to me it wasn't obvious. I mean, maybe for James it was, but for me it wasn't, okay, this is going to happen. I saw a few things, but not anything that was like set in concrete like normally.
Well, I would say I can see that. I can see that. I mean, there was nothing like set in concrete.
Nothing they led with easily,
but, I mean, you could really, if you really paid attention to the movie, you could see where it was going to end up. Like I pointed out that, I mean, they started out with Tom Hardy's character, and then they went over and started following around Joel Edgerton. And like I said to you during the movie, is that I'm thinking that Tom Hardy's character was an easier story to tell than Joel Edgerton. And hold on, let me finish where I was going with this.
Go ahead.
And I was telling John is that more than likely the Brendan, who is Joel Edgerton's character, it was going to end up with the money because they followed him around more than they followed Tom Hardy's character around.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave them both pretty even, but the amount of detail they went into Joel's over Tom's told me that Joel was going to end up with the money.
Right.
Well, here's
so that's kind of where I was going with it.
There wasn't a whole lot. Another thing I was surprised not to see was there wasn't a whole lot of over-explanation of everybody's backstory, and there wasn't a whole lot of the conversations that are like, but you remember when you did this to Mom, and then you said that, it wasn't laying it out for the audience. It was just kind of giving you little glimpses of emotions, they were, from back in the day and stuff like that.
There was a little bit of that. The beach scene when they were.
The beach scene was a little bit, but then you kind of already put a couple of things together by the time you got to that scene, and so then it was just kind of hashing out. It didn't seem like they were trying to over-explain. It seemed like they were having a, natural
I thought the beach scene was required because it had to set up for the brothers fighting in the final thing.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it.
I understand that, but for me, I mean, this is pretty much where they took, like, almost, kind of a lot of different storylines. And I don't want to say exactly what I did, what I jotted down, because I was just making it succinct in my notes. Mm-hmm. But I said, was pretty much every bad fighting movie. They took all the decent storylines from those and combined them. So, I mean, you got the drunk alcoholic dad, you got the mom who's died, you got the wife that doesn't want the husband to fight, but she's still gonna root.
And you got the military scene from Bloodsport.
You got the military scene where, I mean, his buddies were dead. He's fighting for his buddies. He's taking care of their wife. Then you got the little kids rooting, go teach!
Right.
You got all those little kind of halfway decent storylines all thrown into this movie. They wrapped it up, shook it around, and came out with an actual, and I'm not going to be mean here.
It's a take-and-bake movie.
They actually came down and gave a decent movie out of it.
a much better movie than I was expecting. And
Yeah,
I think
same
probably
here.
the two of you, when I brought this up, I know you probably thought, because look, the reason I chose
Oh,
this in
you
the
got
first
my
place, I think I
text
said it
about how
before.
long that damn movie is.
Well, Netflix, I've rated, and I know you have, James, also, we both rated a ton of movies for Netflix, just trying to get them to understand.
Thousands and thousands.
Right, well, I just recently got it, so I only did a couple hundred. But that one was saying, oh, you'll give this 4 stars. I was like, what? Like, when the hell have I ever given a sports action movie 4 stars? Like, it's the most amazing thing ever. Even though I'm a sucker for them, I love a good sports action movie. But this one, I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot based on this. And then I told you cats to watch it because I don't want to be the only one if it sucked.
Oh, that's why you chose this movie.
I knew that's why I did it.
Absolutely. No, look, this was the definition for me of pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, let me just put this way. There was times where... Now, this movie, for the viewers out there, I'm going to see what IMDb says, but I think it's around 2 hours and 20 minutes
Right.
long, is
Yeah,
what
yeah,
that
yeah.
says. 2 hours and 20 minutes is exactly what IMDb says. So, it's almost a 2.5 hour long movie. There were times when I felt that 2.5 hours, but for,
Yeah, there were a
I would
couple
say,
things could have touched
for 3/4 of this movie, I didn't feel that 2.5 hours.
Right. Because you genuinely kind of gave a shit about the characters,
Yeah,
Like,
but there's one bad thing I got to say about this movie before I pass it off to John. There's one bad thing I got to say. Where the hell was Joe Rogan as an announcer?
yeah,
I mean,
kept thinking the same
I
thing.
agree.
You guys got somebody from Mad TV who was trying to play the Joe Rogan guy. He failed, okay? I mean,
Right, but I think that
when he
would've
pulled up
been-
the goldfish and said, "This is this guy in that ring," that was kind of funny.
But think of how gimmicky you would have looked at that.
Dude, I would have been totally
the same
stoked.
thing where if Michael Buffer was in the ring and if they had,
Big John.
Well, Chuck Liddell running around the sidelines or shit like that.
More
it would have been
gimmicky than Kurt Angle.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, now,
Well,
now
again,
let me bring this
Kurt
back
Angle-
up. Hold on, I gotta say something about Kurt Angle here.
I like Kurt Angle, by the way.
I wasn't a big fan of him in WWE, and I will admit out there to people that I actually watched wrestling for a few years.
Few being 25.
Kurt Angle was not my favorite guy out there. And I'm glad that he did very minimal talking because I would have hated to hear his Russian accent.
Oh, right.
And then everything that he did, it was hard not to be sitting there like, Angle slam, Angle slap, Angle lock, Angle lock.
Which, by the way, he did the entire movie when he was on. Angle
did.
locks, Angle slam. It was up to the point of the nauseum. I was going to say, I was thinking
But it
about
was kind of funny.
what James said earlier about Tom Hardy's character being easier to tell. I think it depends on the story of. I think it depends on which you look at it. I think Tom Hardy's story, if they made it about him, would have made this movie way over dramatic.
No. I gotta say because the way what I meant by that is that you understand that Tom Hardy's character has a background in fighting.
Yeah.
The other one, Brendan is that his actual real name, his name in the thing was Brendan Conlon, but Joel Edgerton's character was harder to tell because he's a physics teacher.
Well, and
So,
they
he's coming out
telegraphed,
of-
like you were saying, James. They were. It was easier to tell which 3 of the situations were going to come out at the end because they sort of telegraphed it with the whole talk between Brendan and the father. With you never wanted to train me. You never had any faith in the underdog. You know what I mean? And that kind of gave a little hint towards like, all right, obviously. Everybody likes the underdog in a movie, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then there was also the hint of that
His father was
Joel
rooting for him.
Edgerton had already whooped Tom Hardy's character. Older brother situation thing,
I also think looking back on it is his father was rooting for what was not the other guys, the brothers for him?
Joel Edgerton
was rooting for him. Now that I look back on it, those were hints that I just stupidly never thought about, that started rooting for him more and more as you didn't see him really going for the guy who was training.
But I did notice something. Now, if you watch Tom Hardy's character, when he fought everybody except for his brother, his fist flew fast
Yeah.
and knocked people out fast.
Yeah.
And then when he goes up against his brother, I mean, he threw a lot of punches.
It was pure rage. It was,
it was
plan
different.
goes out the window. I'm just pissed off at my
He
brother.
had no control. If
Yeah,
you notice the way, because he went from a controlled fast fighter to somebody who just, who basically lost it.
Yeah.
The brother didn't win, he lost.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was kind of thinking was going on. So all in all, I actually give this movie around a 3.
What about you, Ryan?
Good high 3. I mean, look, Ali,
Not a 4?
the fighter, Rocky.
Are you saying Netflix is
Raging
wrong?
Bull. This movie kind of joined the ranks of sort of my favorite fight movies of all time.
I don't know. I liked Ali. I was kind of hoping that this would be more of a Cinderella Man. Didn't end up being that way. It's close, but
But why do you want to see a guy in a dress?
because he's looking for his slipper.
Or his glass gin?
He is not amused.
I was just wondering how long you guys were going to go on that.
I didn't do it. He did it.
I honestly, far as rating it, this one is really hard. I liked it I actually liked it. I was trying to really, damn you, tried to give it a 4. It's on the verge to me is giving it a 4. It
Yeah.
really is.
Do it. I mean, you really liked it. There's no reason
Yeah,
that you should
Well, this
go
is
with
one
the
of
rest
those
of the
moments I'm
lemmings.
upset we don't have points,
And
like a
jump
0.5 or,
Yeah, I'm just realistic. Like,
Don't go off the cliff. Stick with your plan.
I'm gonna probably, I'll have to put some brackets around this. I'm gonna have to throw some, the emotional points to it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go to 4 just because.
There you go.
Overall, I enjoyed the movie because I didn't think I was gonna like it because after reading it, I can generally 9 out of 10 times just by reading what's about. No, I'm not gonna like the movie, and
Sure.
9 out of 10 times I'm 100% correct.
Well,
And I can agree with you on that because I mean, audience out there, Ryan did get an angry text from me when I found out how long this movie was, and I literally told him, I said he needs to beat the dad to death because I mean, there's no reason that we should have a 2-hour movie unless we're going through some incarceration story as well. And I was pleasantly surprised. So I mean that gives
turns into a court procedural.
yeah, exactly.
A 2-hour Law and Order. Dear God.
I mean, an hour of him going, and then all of a sudden the dad snaps, and then an hour of his half an hour of his beating, and then 30 minutes of jail.
So I'm gonna have to give this 4. But so what were you saying, Ryan? Before you would cut off?
Oh, I was wondering if you're a fan of the genre in general.
Of the fighting movie genre?
Sports action movies or fighting movies or these kinds of things,
I have to admit, generally I'm a sucker for a sports action movie. I loved Bloodsport, some of the more cheesier ones,
He's a Quest fan.
Yeah, it's not a bad movie. What was it? Only the Strong? I actually
Are you a fan of the Undisputeds as well?
Undisputed?
Oh my gosh, those are the MMA movies that came out 2005 and up.
I must have misplaced him as I was watching bad anime. So overall, I give it a 4. So what movie news do you have for us, Ryan?
Okay, let's see. A couple of things.
You're a talking head.
I saw somebody remaking.
I'm sorry, Ryan, but you just paused in a really great position.
Awesome.
Go on.
Sorry.
Yeah, my whole thing's frozen too. At least you can still hear me.
Yeah, thank God.
Is it better than the monkey?
Yes.
All right. Somebody's remaking Godzilla. A man named Gareth Edwards, and apparently he's going to try to do a realistic approach to it. The reason I'm semi-interested in this is because it's being put out by Legendary Pictures, which recently has brought us the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Hangover, 300, James's favorite movie, The Town, Watchmen. A handful of flops like the Wrath of the Titans and stuff like that. But all in all, especially lately, I don't know, this might be something to watch.
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the Hangovers, and The Town. I think I just threw up in my butt a little bit.
So question for you: Are they going towards the Japanese version or like the Matthew Broderick far as realism?
See, I hope they don't go the Matthew Broderick version because that was rife with holes.
Well, I meant not the storyline, but the actual character.
Yeah,
design.
the set in the real world, kind of not cheesy, stupid.
I liked.
Yeah, they're definitely going to go realistic with it, or grounded in reality.
As much as it, yeah.
But grounded in reality and Godzilla. I would like to see the Venn diagram on that movie.
Well, I mean, I really hope they stay away from, the King Kong that was released in, what is that?
Probably
2005.
05?
Yeah, that's
2005 with Jack Black.
Jack Black.
Jackson.
Jackson's horrible. Yeah. I hope they stay away from that and actually.
I've heard he made up with it with Lovely Bones. I've never seen it, but I heard it was pretty good.
Lovely Bones?
I actually haven't seen that either. That was one of those nominated for Best Picture a couple years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I've heard it has a real kind of indie, not traditional movie, Hollywood movie. I haven't seen it, so this is just from reviews.
Well, I guarantee you it's not going to be more indie and awesomely cult than the new Hungry Hungry Hippos movie being made.
Seriously?
I wouldn't lie to you about a Hungry Hungry Hippos movie, John.
I'm just trying to figure out, so this is going to be like the Anaconda movies? Hippos attack. I mean,
see, that would be fucking awesome. If
they
were to set Hungry Hungry Hippos in reality and have it just be hippos just jacking up crocodiles and tipping over boats and shit like that, I would go see that movie.
And white people from America going, "Ooh, look at the animals!"
Right.
Put them on roller skates and slide them at him.
And the token black guy.
Switch. Oh no, he's eating me. That would be a great movie.
That would be a great movie.
Oh,
Is that Blood Orchid?
oh, they need Jason Statham in that one. If they'd be great.
Really? Why?
Watch him in a bad movie. He'd be the best part of the
I was
movie.
thinking it'd be great to get back Jennifer Lopez and Ice Cube in it.
Wow.
Ooh, and have a Geely
I'd
twist
like to
to
say
it.
John Voight, but I think he was eaten in an Anaconda.
You know what? You just gave me a great idea, though.
Wow.
What they got to throw in there. Are you still there?
Ryan? Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're having some technical difficulties. Well, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're having some minor difficulties, so we have Ryan on audio and not video at the moment. So
It's all Ryan's fault, so just don't worry about it, audience.
So what were you saying, Ryan?
Well, that was more or less going to wrap up the movie news. Just going to bring up a couple of the opening weekend totals. Taken 2 came in at first, 49.5 million. Hotel Transylvania 27.1, and Looper only coming in with 12.1. Figured that was going to be a better hit. And that's more or less it. Keep an eye out for Hungry Hungry Hippos, y'all.
Wow.
Yikes.
So I gave the movie 4 out of 5. Ryan and James both gave it 3 out of 5. Next week we're doing 7 Psychopaths, which from just by the trailer it looks like an entertaining movie.
It should be.
And this
Nice
is
ensemble cast, should be good.
Yeah, the cast does look nice.
and this is one of the very few theater movies that we've all agree on. Generally it's, two versus one. So ladies and gentlemen, for Jonathan Charney, James Stevens,
Goodbye.
and Ryan Preston, we'll see you next week.
The hard work, the dedication, and if you give them ad copy, you always get it right.
You certainly get the greatest value for your marketing dollars with the Windfall.
We love the Windfall!
And you can too. Think advertising with the Windfall couldn't get any better? Well, it just did. For only $125 for a 30-second commercial filmed by Old Guy Tech TV, you can be seen and heard.